Alright, this is awesome. I made it up to Telluride area. I'm camped up here at Alta Lakes, and I'm out on Alta Lake in my canoe, one of the lakes. Ooh, there's a bug. This scenery here is just unbelievable. It's about 70 degrees, maybe 68 or something like that. Loving it. Well, you would think it would be easier to find God, to experience God under these kind of circumstances, wouldn't you? Yet, don't we find God, doesn't God make himself more known in negative circumstances? What about down in the town of Telluride, where everyone's so affluent and there's so much culture and everything? Is that a better circumstance for finding God? And what about over in the quiet, sleepy mountain town of Rico, Colorado, where the Presbyterian Church has, 6 or maybe 8 members, something like that? Is this a better circumstance?
Hi, Pancho!
Hey, Darcy! There's one specific circumstance which unites all of us here today. That is our singleness. Now, some of us are divorced here. There's those that are widowed, those that are never married. Some of us have been single for a long time. Others have been just recently single and are dealing with that adjustment. Painful adjustment. There's those of us who are simply good with being single. And then some of us, like myself, definitely prefer not to be single. But for whatever reason, I still am today. But anyway, that's something that I think many of us probably consider to be the singleness, our singleness to be considered us to be in a circumstance of some hardship. Majority of us here today are feeling like we're in a circumstance of some kind of hardship, whether it be financial or just our singleness or dealing with singleness. I think most of us consider our singleness to be a negative circumstance. A circumstance of hardship. And so what do we do when we find ourselves in difficult and frustrating and trying circumstances? We go, God, what are you doing to me? What are you doing to me? Here's what Moses, when God chose Moses to lead the Israelites to liberty, Moses wasn't really thrilled about the prospect. His attitude was pretty much, just shoot me now. And then when he went ahead and followed God's commands and went into Israel and spoke to the Pharaoh, made things even worse. I mean, the circumstances looked even more dismal. Let's see here's what he said. Here's what Moses said. Lord, why have you brought trouble on this people? Why is it you have sent me? For since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he's done evil to this people. Neither have you delivered your people at all. The author says Moses was so discouraged, he was ready to quit.
Brother, yes you do. Hey, oh,
Of course, God tells Moses, man, don't worry. I'm going to make that Pharaoh so miserable that he'll be wanting to let the people go. And of course, that's exactly what happens. We've seen manifestations of God in our lives, and yet it seems like no matter how many times we see that, we still doubt when we get into times of trouble. We still forget. It's easy to forget about those times when God came through for us and showed us, you know, here, I'm here, and I'm working in your life, and don't worry. This beautiful blade is made of the legendary Damascus steel. The secret of Damascus steel was lost in ancient times, rediscovered here in more modern times. And the secret really is that the steel is folded over and pounded and quenched and forged and folded and pounded and quenched and forged over and over and over, producing hundreds of layers of steel. This makes for the strongest yet still flexible blade with the sharpest and hardest edge. And so just like God in our lives, when we're put through difficult times, difficult circumstances, when we look back upon them, you know, from the future, a year later or something, you can say to yourself, yes, you're right. I am a changed person from that. And as hard it was to go through, I'm now forged into a stronger and harder weapon for the Lord. In the story of Gideon, he can't seem to believe that God really wants him to go to war, and so he comes up with this idea. He puts out this fleece, you know, kind of like a fleece jacket today. He puts out a sheepskin, and he says that, you know, if in the morning the sheepskin's wet, Lord, that confirms that you absolutely want me to go to war, to start up this army. And so he goes and checks it in the morning. He lays it out and goes and checks it in the morning, and it's wet. But still, you know, that's just not enough confirmation. So he says, okay, Lord, this time I'm going to lay the sheepskin out, and this time, if I get up in the morning and it's dry, that means absolutely for sure that you're wanting me to go to war. And so he wakes up in the morning and the sheepskin's dry. Well, still that's just not enough for him. So he's going to do it one more time, a third time. He says, okay, this time if I wake up in the morning and it's wet again, if the sheepskin, the fleece is wet again, that means absolutely for sure you're wanting me to go. And of course he wakes up in the morning and the fleece is wet again. And you know, it's like, Gideon, what kind of idiot are you? How many times does it take? But the truth is, we're just the same way. I'm the same way. God shows up in my life all the time. And then 5 minutes later, you know, I'm worrying about something. I'm doubting him. And I'm thinking that things really aren't going the way they're supposed to be going in my life. One of my favorite verses from the book of John, John 11:4. When he heard this, Jesus said, this sickness will not end in death. No. It is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it. You know, that really hits home with me being a recovering alcoholic. Okay, so what have we got so far? The first thing, I guess, was that God doesn't necessarily make himself known so much in good circumstances as he seems to appear often in what we might consider to be bad circumstances. A bad circumstance can also be used as a spiritual marker. Just like with the Damascus steel, we can look back and say, oh yeah, you know, I have had some spiritual growth since then. A good spiritual marker. Well, and of course a bad circumstance can help build character. Again, like the Damascus steel, you're forged into a stronger, sharper weapon. You guys ever get tired of building character? I know I do. Well, and then it gives you an opportunity to work your faith. You know, faith is not just a word and a relationship. It's got to be through thick and thin. By the way, that was Ephie singing "This Test Is Your Storm." Okay, and so what else we got? How else can we find God in circumstances? Well, guys, the Bible. In any circumstances, the Bible's amazing. You know, did you know that why the Bible's not on the top 10 bestseller list of New York Times? Because it would be always number one. Hey, Helen, what's the top 10 New York Times bestseller this week? The Bible every week. Okay, well, what's number two then? They'd have to say. Well, the Bible was the first book ever printed. The printing press was created so they could print the Bible, guys. There's no other document like it. It's exactly what it claims to be. I'm okay. So I said to my friend, hey, you know, I just read this cool story about how Jesus was walking along and there was a funeral and it was the woman's only son who had died, and so he raised the guy from the dead just by touching him. So I said, what do you think about that story? And he said, the greatest story ever told, meaning it's fiction. Somebody made that up. Well, and then I read him the first part of Luke, the part where he says, I've investigated all the reports in close detail from the story's beginning, and so I've decided to write it all out for you, most honorable Theophilus, so that you can know beyond any shadow of a doubt the reliability of what you've been taught. Now, does that sound like fiction to you? You got to get in a Bible study, and you know, you'll develop a hunger, and I know many of you are feeling that already, a hunger to learn more about the Bible. I mean, if you're building a relationship with Jesus, you want to know everything you can about him, and it's in there. One more thing before I turn you back over to Steve. He's got some discussion questions for you, and I want to thank you, Steve, for helping out, and thank everybody for putting up with me here since I couldn't be there today with the video method. Anyway, just one last thing was that the authors, Blackaby and King, mentioned in the introduction that all of this is really meaningless unless you have already turned your life over to Jesus Christ as your Savior and King. And I know there's probably those of you that are out there today or who've maybe been riding the fence on that, haven't really officially done it or something, and today would really be a great day to do that because they're going to be serving communion, I believe, in the service today. So that is an excellent time, you know, to really to really turn your life over to Jesus officially and just make him your king like you would an earthly king. That's what I do. Like Jesus is an earthly king and of a country, and I'm like a knight that's dedicated my life to him. Communion, by the way, is one of the very few sacraments of the Christian church. And the word sacrament comes from the Latin word sacramentum. Sacramentum was the oath given by a Roman soldier or officer when he began his career, where he would dedicate his life and, if necessary, give his life for the emperor. And so that's kind of how I look at it. And so, you know what? I've got a movie clip for you here. It's from a movie called The Robe, and it's a story of the guy who, if you'll recall, they were gambling for Jesus's clothes at the foot of the cross when he was up there dying. And it's the story of the guy who won the robe, Jesus's robe. And you'll see that the movie, you'll be able to understand pretty much the entire plot of the movie, really, in just this couple of minutes. But you'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah, sorry about the low quality, but Netflix let me down. Look at that short wait. Fortunately, I can play it on the instant.
Demetrius and I will leave in the morning. We go to Syria, Lebanon, then Greece, Sicily, finally Rome itself. Everywhere we'll find friends. Everywhere our movement grows. And you, Marcellus? Suppose I'll go back to Rome. Demetrius and I wondered if you'd come with us. You want me? We can always find use for courage and devotion.
No. No. It's impossible. I can never be one of you.
Why not? Marcellus, is there something you want to tell me?
Yes. Yes. I'll try.
To make it easier, let me tell you about the burden I carry. You heard Justice say I was steadfast and loyal. He didn't know. The night Jesus needed me most, I denied him. Not once. 3 times. He swore I never knew him. Now, I crucified him. I know. Demetrius told me.
And you can forgive me?
He forgave you from the cross. Can I do less? Now, does anything stand in your way? Can you be one of us?
From this day on, I'm enlisted in his service. I offer him my sword, my fortune, and my life. And this I pledge you on my honor as a Roman.
Alright, that really is what I'm talking about. And, you know, if you were to take your life and take all the bad things that have happened to you, all the times you've been dissed or slighted or tricked or gypped or just things just didn't go your way, people took advantage of you, all the things, the negative things that happened to you in your life, and you put them all together in a pile, and then you compared that to the riches that that's going to be when we go home to our kingdom and our king. It's going to be so awesome, so glorious, that that pile is going to look like a tiny little speck, really, in comparison. And so, there you have it. Take it away, Steve.